Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, bro. We back at it with another story time. All right, so this story time is like rushed for time, bro, because it's literally 11 o'clock and I still need to render all this footage and everything to get this video uploaded because my friends would not hurry the fuck up and get the fuck out of Walmart, yo. So yeah, I'm rushed for time, so we're short story time, but it was an event in my life that could have gone so much worse than it actually did, right? So we're just gonna skip all the mumbo jumbo. Let's get straight into this shit, right? So this story time, it takes place when I was 4 years old, a whopping 13 years ago, all right? Fucking 3 or 4, right? I was 3 or 4 years old. So I assume this day all starts out as a normal day, right? I don't remember the whole majority of the day, just the event and the majority of like the events that followed because of the main event, right? I assume that I woke up, ate breakfast, fucking hung out and played with my brother, right? And so I'm assuming that that's what I did throughout the entire day, right? And at some point, right, I remember this, right? I decide I want to go outside. And so I'm like, I'm going to go outside. And so I get up, I walk up to my mom and I'm like, hey, mom, I'm going to go outside. Is that okay? And she's like, yeah, that's okay. Stay in the yard. You know where you're allowed to be and where you're not allowed to be. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. All right. And so I put my shoes on, I get whatever I need to go outside, right? And so I do all that, and I look at my brother, and, I'm going to give this brother a name. His name's Nick. That's his real nickname. That's what we call him. Yeah, shouts out to you, Nick, if you're watching this, bro. Yeah. Yeah, anyways, right? And so I walk up to my brother Nick, and I'm like, hey, you want to come play outside with me? And he's like, no, I'm good. And so I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm just like, oh man, I really wanted you to come hang out with me and play outside. But, it's like, whatever. And so then I turn around, I leave our bedroom, and I start walking to the front door, right? And so let me try and, set this shit up for you, right? So when you walk in the front door, uh, right in front of you is like an island essentially for the kitchen, right? And then to the right is the kitchen, and to the left is the living room, right? And so up against the wall, the back wall, and to the left is a hallway. In that hallway, the first door on the left is mine and my brother's bedroom. The next door on the left is the bathroom. The door after that is my grandma and grandparents' bedroom, right? My grandma and grandpa's bedroom, right? And my parents, they slept in the living room. Right, and so I walk out of my bedroom, right? So now like where I'm walking, right? So you know where the hallway is, and so on the opposite wall, on the same wall as the door, but in the same I don't know how to explain it. I'm gonna give up on trying to explain it. Let's just get into it, right? And so I walk from my bedroom. I'm walking through the little bit of the hallway I have to get through. I get into the hall. I get into the living room. I go around the recliner. I go in between my parents' bed and a laundry basket, and then I go next to the island and to the front door, and I grab the door handle. And I grab the door handle. I open the fucking door, and I step outside. And so I go to close the door, right? And I close the door, right? But the second the door closes, I feel this thud in the back of my head. It's like I got hit in the head with like something hard. It's like I got hit in the head with like a fucking baseball bat or some shit, right? And so I'm just sitting there for a sec, like not even a second, right? Just fraction of a second. And in my head, I'm just like, oh fuck. And I reach up and I touch my head where I felt the impact come from. And there's just blood starting to stream down my face fast as fuck, right? And so I turn around really quickly, screaming, like just, oh my God, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, just screeching, bro. And I turn around and I see on the ground in front of me a fucking chair, right? Like those chairs that they have in schools. If I remember, I'll try to pull up a picture of one. I may not remember. I'm rushed for time, right? And so one of those chairs that they have in school, those shitty fucking plastic ones, that have like the hole in the back, one of those chairs, right? But one of the chair legs was broken, right? And so it didn't have the flat piece that, moved around to like go with the chair. Quick side note, I never understood why the teachers always said never lean back in your chair when the fucking chair legs were designed to fucking move with your chair leaning back. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I never understood that, right? But one of those pieces was missing. And of course, the one that was missing was the one that hit me in the head, right? And so I see that and I'm just like, oh, fuck. In my head, I'm screaming, right? And in real life, I'm screaming. So I fling the fucking front door open and my mom, she's in the kitchen to my right. And my grandma, she's in her bed. No, yeah, no, my mom was talking to my grandma in the kitchen, right? And so I walk in, I don't walk in, I run in screaming, and my mom's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" And she sees the blood just running down my face, and she grabs a rag, and she's like, "Holy shit!" And she grabs me, she puts the rag on my head, and she just bolts to the car, bro. And so she puts me in the car, and I don't remember the drive to the hospital, right? I remember getting in the car, and her just being like, "Hold that rag on there," and just driving, right? Because the town that I lived in at this time was really, really fucking small, right? I mean, it still is really small, same size that it was back then, maybe a little bigger. But so it was a really small place. It was like a 3-minute drive to the fucking hospital, maybe five if it was, if there was any amount of traffic, right? And so, she puts me in the car and she's like, hold that rag on there. And I'm just like, okay. And so I'm just holding the rag on there and I'm just like crying. I'm just like, it hurts, mommy, it hurts. And she's like, I know, I know, I know. We're going to the hospital. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, okay. Oh, just fucking crying. And so I'm in the car, right? And so I don't remember the car ride. But I do remember we got to the hospital and my mom's like, "All right, let's go, let's go." And so, we get out the car and she's like, "Let me see the rag real quick," as we were getting out. And so she looked and she, put the part of the rag that didn't have any blood on it because, most of the rag was soaked in blood, but there's, like a little part of it that didn't have blood yet. And so she touched that to where, I was bleeding and shit. And she's like, all right, the bleeding slowed down, but, let's still go in there and get you checked out, right? And so I don't remember, what happens after that other than, getting into the room and the examination, right? And not really the examination, more just what they told me, right? And so I assume, I went in there, they looked at it. I didn't get stitches for that. I just think, that they left it, right? And so at the end, after they like, checked out the injury and everything, they're like, that could have been like so much worse, if like that could like it could have been really bad is really all I like know how to explain it because this was such a long time ago and I can't remember exactly what it was that they said, right? Right, but I remember what it was they told me that I could not do for a while, right? And so this is important. It was summer. I should have said this at the beginning of the story, right? And so the doctor's like, yeah, you can't go swimming for a while. Pools, the river, lakes, nothing. You can't go swimming for a while. Like, I think the doctor said like 6 weeks or some shit. I don't know. It was probably more like four, bro. I don't know, but it was a couple weeks that they said I couldn't swim. And I'm just like, holy fuck, that's like the whole pool season, right? Because we had a public pool there where I lived, and it was only open a certain amount of time a year. And so I'm just like, holy shit, bro, that's the whole pool season, damn near, bro. I'm not gonna get to go to the pool and enjoy it at all, right? And the doctor's like, yeah, I know, I'm so sorry, like that at least you're okay, at least you don't have to get stitches, at least nothing else is too terribly wrong with you, at least it's just you can't swim for a little while. And I mean, yeah, she's right, I'm alive. I could have died, if the chair had hit me right. I could have died, I could have bled out if nobody was home. Or maybe the chair could have knocked me out because I was fucking 3 4 years old, but yeah. And so then we leave the doctor's office, right? They put a big ass band-aid on my head, but it didn't really do jack fuck because of my hair, right? And so it was kind of just useless. It was more just a big ass pain to get out later because it hurt so fucking bad. Right, but anyways, right now, so I got home, right, and that's like the end of the main incident, right? But I remember I don't remember how much longer later it was. It was probably only a couple days, but I was at the park, right? And this park is right next to, literally connected to the public pool, right? Um, and so my family and everything wanted to go swimming, but I couldn't go swimming. So they're like, you just want to play at the park while we go swim, and we'll just come check up on you every like 45 minutes when it's break time. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. And so I remember I went up and I climbed into the highest point of the playground and I just started crying. I was just up there bawling my fucking eyes out because I couldn't go swim, bro. And then this older girl, she came up there. She was probably like 12, 13 years old. And she's like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "I got hurt a little while ago, and I can't go swim, and all my family's in there swimming." And I'm just like crying, little kid shit. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I could hang out with you up here though if you want." And I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And so they hung out with me up there. And so then fast forward another, I don't know how long, but I'm at my mom's friend's house with my mom, and her kids are getting into their pool, and I'm like, "Mom, can I get in the pool?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "So my head's fine now?" And she's like, "Oh, I forgot about that." Yeah, you're fine. Just, be careful. If it starts to hurt, take your head out of the water. And I'm like, yes. And I was so excited, bro. And I went swimming and I had a great time for like an hour just swimming and hanging out, right? And so that brings us to the end of the story altogether, right? Um, so that, to be honest with you, probably has a lot to play with has a lot to play with how stupid I am today, getting hit in the head, stabbed in the fucking top of my head with a chair. And so let me try to like explain where it was that I was hit, right? I was hit literally on the very like tippy top, bro. Essentially the point of my head. That spot in the back, like on the very top in the middle of your head, where like all your hair sort of like goes in different directions and shit. That spot, I was calic. There we go. I was hitting the fucking calic of my goddamn head, bro. Crazy ass accuracy for a chair, bro. Yeah, there's not really any sort of moral to this story other than like be aware of your surroundings, I guess. But that wasn't really my fault. I was 3 years old and I shut the door, and it wasn't my fault that the chair up there was not properly secured. That was my parents' fault 1000%. Um but yeah, be aware of your surroundings, and yeah, that's really all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Not so much a shorter story, just more of a boring story. I mean, honestly, not really even boring. It more just depends on how you look at it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, sorry. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you all tomorrow. I'm working on the next episode for the rank series. I plan to do that today, but like I said, my friends fucking kept me busy for literally 2 fucking hours, bro. I meant to be home at 9 o'clock working on that goddamn video, bro. Anyways, I'm gonna end this video, get it rendered, uploaded, and shit. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, comment, check out the Twitch and the TikTok. I do live streams on there all the time. Join the Discord. Yeah, peace out. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.